Part 102. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1011. The Phantom Troops' hot air balloon stopped on the hillside in a valley. Hundreds of armed gang members rushed in. Faced with such a large battle, the brigade only sent one person to fight, number 11 Eugen. He is a strengthening type of non-user. His body is the strongest in the brigade. The pistols, sniper rifles, and even RPG rocket launchers used by the gangsters could not cause substantial damage to Eugen. And Eugen's attack power is extremely strong, fast, and strong. He was seen rushing among hundreds of people, killing anyone he saw, just like a tank crushing a group of infantry. Fortunately, Kurapika and his gang came a little late and are now outside the valley. They did not face Eugen head-on. If they followed the gangsters in, they might lose a few before Kurapika took action to control Eugen. And Kurapika's ability would also be exposed. Now, they watched from afar with binoculars as Wojin killed hundreds of gangsters. Many people were torn into pieces. Kurapika's colleagues were all shocked. Almost everyone said that if the opponent was this guy, they would never go over. That's not a fight, it's suicide. The only ones who didn't show any fear from beginning to end were Kurapika and Xiaoming, who stood beside him. Even if it wasn't a matter of strength, for them, this was just a game. It's no big deal if they couldn't beat him. Longwu looked at Zhang Xiaoming and asked with a smile, "Master, we agreed to follow your command. What do you think we should do?" Before Xiaoming answered, Kurapika and the third young master said in unison, "I'll do it." Then, the two looked at each other, a little deadlocked. Then they looked at Xiaoming together. Since they have decided to listen to Xiaoming, the third young master will not go back on his word. Wojin is a good opponent, but it's not rare. At worst, you can just read the progress again. Kurapika's telekinesis was originally stimulated by Xiaoming, which saved him a lot of time for training. So Kurapika's current strength is very good, stronger than in the original book. He is also grateful to Xiaoming. If Xiaoming makes the decision, he can still accept it. But if it is too different from his own idea, such as running away, then he will probably still argue with reason. Suddenly, the ugly-looking but beautiful-voiced Melodious said, "I don't know when, there is an extra heartbeat here." Everyone was shocked, only Xiaoming arranged a wide circle in the first time. He knew that there was an extra person underground. He just wanted to see what this guy was going to do, so he didn't point it out in advance. Sizzle, a thin guy who looked like a fried dough stick or a twisted dough stick, came out from the ground. He asked in a muffled voice, "I am the earthworm of the yin beast. Who are you?" The nominal leader of the group, Dazonai, replied, "We are Mr. Nisra's bodyguards." "Is that so? Although you can use the mind, it is better not to take action," the earthworm said. "They are not ordinary thieves," a guy in a t-shirt, jeans and a hedgehog head said as he walked over. "He is the sick dog of the yin beast. He kills people like crazy. He can be said to be an expert in killing people," the bald dwarf porcupine said. "Experts should be dealt with by experts." The last summary was made by the big-bellied strongman Leech. After pretending to be a bit of a show in front of several people, the sick dog, porcupine, and Leech strode towards the valley, and the earthworm turned around and went underground again. Seeing the legendary yin beast of the gangster come out, several bodyguards seemed relieved. It's great that they don't have to do it themselves. It's just right to watch the show. Xiaoming and the third young master looked at each other and shook their heads. They could see clearly that these yin beasts were average in strength, and even sea level was a bit of a stretch. Who gave them the confidence to dare to fight against the B-level Eugen? "Kurapika, can I leave this Eugen to you?" Xiaoming asked. "No problem, I'm ready. I guarantee that it will be easy to capture." "Okay, then let's do this. Xiaoming said a plan that all the characters in the plot couldn't believe. Dazonai immediately raised an objection. Are you kidding? Can you for really do it? Several other people also spoke out to dissuade him. Only Melody didn't speak. She found from her heartbeat that these four people were indeed confident and not afraid at all. Seeing that Xiaoming and others could not be persuaded at all, several people were helpless. They could only follow Xiaoming's plan. The battle in the valley ended quickly, and the difference in strength was still too great. In just a few minutes, the sick dog, the porcupine, and the leech all died at Yujin's hands. Only the earthworm that could walk on the ground escaped with a seriously injured body and Sakurapika and his party, but it looked like it would not live long. Because Uzumaki was brave but not wise, and his fighting style was too unrestrained and rough, he was not only poisoned by the sick dog, but also had many leeches parasitizing his body. After the fight, he himself was also unable to move by the yin beast. In a flash, at this critical moment, Kurapika took action. He is a materialization type nin user, with 5 chains connected to the 5 fingers of his right hand. Xiaoming can feel that these 5 chains must have different special abilities. But Xiaoming can't see what the specific abilities are. The chain on the middle finger shot out and bound Wojin, who could not move from a distance, and then quickly took Wojin back. Several people jumped into the car and drove away. Before leaving, several people again persuaded Xiaoming and others to drive away quickly, and their hearts were quite good. However, Xiaoming and others came here to fight, and it was impossible for them to retreat at the last minute. Several people had to drive away. Xiaoming gently stroked with his fingers and cut off a telekinetic thread stuck on Wojin's left leg. His companion was taken away from him, and Maki's tricks were also destroyed. The other 6 people in the group quickly jumped down from the hillside and were about to chase. However, the next second, they were shocked by a strong momentum coming from the front, and no one dared to move forward. This momentum was of course released by Xiaoming. Xiaoming's current strength is no less than that of the 3 guards. Although he has paid attention to restraint this time, it is enough to attract the attention of the members of the brigade. Several members knew that a strong enemy had appeared, so they quickly stopped and took a fighting stance. Although saving their companions was important, they had to save their own lives first. Xiaoming knew that Miss Nine could not withstand his momentum, so he first added a layer of protection to her, and then released his momentum. The target was also the Phantom Troop. The third young master and Longwu both sensed this momentum from the side, and they were shocked. They had a new understanding of Zhang Xiaoming's strength. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1012. At this moment, facing the most dangerous thing second only to the Chimera ants, Miu Miu played by Zhang Xiaoming, the 6 members of the Phantom Troop all felt tremendous pressure. Generally speaking, when encountering a dangerous situation or such a special change, the brigade members will immediately contact the group leader and request instructions. However, the knight's intuition felt that the current crisis was too great, and he did not dare to speak to the leader in person, so as not to lead the enemy to the regiment leader. He just secretly connected the group leader's phone in his pocket so that he could hear what was going on here. There were 1 or 2 quick thinkers who also did the same thing. The leader's phone was busy, and they connected to someone else. Xiaoming could clearly see all these little moves behind the scenes. Don't care much either. I saw an intellectual young man with short yellow-green hair taking a step forward. Xiaoming recognized this look and had met his cosplayer before. This young man is called Zayak. I heard that the person responsible for processing and analyzing intelligence in the brigade is an intellectual character. In the face of a crisis, it is most appropriate for him to come out and respond. Who are you? Don't tell me, you are a gangster. With the strength of these few people, it is impossible to join the gang. No matter how much money they spend, I'm afraid they won't be able to recruit you. The knight's words were intended to flatter Xiaoming and others. Although there was only one person who sent out the momentum just now, the strength of the others did not look scary on the surface. Especially the 13 or 4-year-old little girl, she felt like she was no match for anyone on her side. But those who can stand with Xiaoming either have special tricks or have extraordinary identities. There's nothing wrong with patting him on the back. Xiaoming introduced himself and others with a smile, and then replied, "Really? Isn't it said that if there is someone from the assassination family, as long as the money is enough, you will definitely be invited? So you are the ones who beat up the enemy's family." The knight couldn't believe it. Because the main strong man who defeated the enemy and the guest family was not hidden, and basically everyone in the brigade knew about it. The person in front of me is obviously not. Is it a new addition? On the other side of the cell phone signal, the group leader who heard this was even more unbelievable. "I placed the order to beat the enemy Hakka family. What's going on?" Fortunately, the group leader used the speakerphone so Hisoka could hear this. Yes, at this time, Hisoka had already infiltrated the brigade by pretending to be member number 4. His purpose is to fight with the leader. Hisoka was very familiar with the sound of wood. Not long ago, I was blown up by a piece of wood in the sky arena and couldn't take care of myself. It was all thanks to Mage's skills that the hands and feet were connected. At this moment, when he heard that it was wood, the corners of Hisoka's mouth twitched unconsciously. The leader's peripheral vision accurately captured the subconscious reaction. "Hisoka, do you know this person?" He, it's really incredible." Hisoka laughed strangely and said. There is an ambiguous relationship between Hisoka and Ilmi. In the original work, Ilmi even tells Hisoka the family's deepest secret Nanaka. This shows how much he trusts Hisoka. Therefore, Yumi told Hisoka about Xiaoming becoming the president's apprentice and serving as a guest minister in the enemy's Hakka family, mainly to remind him. After all, Ilmi almost died at the hands of the wooden tree, and it was all thanks to Hisoka to save him. There is really nothing to say about friendship. After hearing Hisoka's words, the leader's face froze. Everyone in the Phantom Troop could feel how arrogant Hisoka was. Since Hisoka joined the group leader has long been aware of Hisoka's strong provocation towards him. How powerful is this guy to make Hisoka think he is no match? You must know that Hisoka is a man who even thought of 2 tricks when facing President Nitro, but he was actually frightened by his apprentice. It's really appalling. In fact, Hisoka only dared to challenge the president who was less than 30% powerful. If it were the president who faced the Chimera ants, Hisoka. This guy with an abnormal mind will most likely dare to fight. Of course, he will be beaten to a pulp by 100 styles Guanyin. But this kind of death may be exactly what this guy with a brain full of holes and water, and maybe even a fish, dreams of. Hisoka didn't want to fight Xiaoming because it was boring. Xiaoming will not fight him head-on at all, but will use endless puppets, clones and the like to drown him. Just like later in the Sky Arena, Hisoka died under the brigade leader's human wave tactics. It's just that compared to the leader, Xiaoming's tactics have no technical content at all. But the number was too much to handle. It's boring to fight and there's no passion. Hisoka just found it boring. He didn't know that the wood today was no longer the same as what he had encountered before. There are many ways to make him fight well. Not to mention the reaction of the group leader and Hisoka. The knight and others are still in danger. It's been too long. After hearing the knight's question, Xiaoming took 3 seconds to remember that in the secret realm, he was the guest of the enemy's family who beat up the enemy. Then he nodded and replied, "Yes, I am indeed the one who beat up the enemy's Hakka family. You can think that I was paid to deal with you." The knight knew that since the other party said this, he might not be able to do anything good. As long as the people who beat the enemy and the Hakka family accept the order, they will not give up easily. Otherwise, your own sign will be damaged. In fact, Silva Zaldik of the Zaldik family once told his family that they were not allowed to accept commissions to assassinate the Phantom Troop. But what he meant was that people with insufficient strength were not allowed to accept commissions. For people at his level, or even stronger, it didn't matter. This statement was mainly aimed at children and housekeepers. It was not binding on guests like Mutio Yu. Therefore, Xiaoming didn't know about this ban at all. Similarly, the knight and others didn't know about the ban. I heard that the other party was the famous Zaldik family. Several people were actually half believing and half doubting. After all, the momentum they felt just now was too strong, and it didn't even look like the momentum of a human. Although the Zaldik family is famous, can they really have masters of this level? No wonder they don't believe it. But who are the Phantom Troop? The whole group is unruly guys. Although the enemy's momentum is too strong, none of them are really afraid. The knight just wanted to avoid unnecessary battles, and the most important thing was that he didn't want the Phantom Troop to lose members. But since they couldn't reach an agreement, the brigade was not afraid of fighting. Xiaoming had 4 people on his side and 6 on the other side. The two sides agreed to fight 4 games, and the survivors could leave at will. The first 3 games were 1-on-1, and the last game was a 1-on-3 game. Mutio Yu's proposal made the opposing brigade very angry. Several strong men were indignant and eager to try, and they all planned to fight to the death with Mutio Yu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1013. In the Hunter x Hunter Secret Realm, in a valley outside Yukixan City, the ground is full of gang members' corpses and blood. The two groups are confronting each other. A girl walked out from each team. The first battle between the two sides was between Li Songrui and Xiaodai. Li Songrui, the 9th daughter of the Li family, is 13 years old this year. Combat power level C-. Supernatural energy is spiritual power and magic power. The skill she excels in is the spiritual power martial arts passed down from her family. She holds a sword in her hand, which is a universal item Jade Girl Sword, martial arts add 100, spiritual power add 15, body movement add 20, luck add 30. The Li family probably spent a lot of manpower and material resources to get her such a universal sword. As a little princess, of course she should be spoiled. Of course, the data of the sword is only its data in the original secret realm. Universal items are in different worlds, and the data will change with the world. Note that this time when Xiaoming entered the Hunter x Hunter secret realm, he was not covered with the armor transformed by Iron Blood Neza. It can be seen that he finally learned his lesson. Last time in the secret realm of Jurassic Park, it attracted attention. Since then, Xiaoming has set it up in advance. Every time he enters the secret realm, this equipment will not be displayed for the time being. It is not too late to display it when it is used. Similar general items include, Round Table Knight's armor and Loki's dagger. Xiao Di, the 8th member of the Phantom Troop. About 20 years old. Combat power level C+. Supernatural energy is materialization telekinesis. The commonly used weapon is the telekinetic beast shaped like a vacuum cleaner, the bulging-eyed fish. Because the original 8th member was killed by Silva of the Zaldik family, she was able to join the troop. So, relatively speaking, she has not had time to do too many bad things, and her life energy is much cleaner than that of other members. However, 3 of the 3rd young master's nominal colleagues died in the auction venue. 2 of them, Fei Ji and Yu Walianfa, both died at the hands of Xiao Di. This girl is a murderer at a young age. Because Xiaoming has now joined the underworld, even though his inauguration has not been completed, he can already see the sins a person has committed recently. By the way, it was after Shiba killed the original number 8 member that he ordered not to accept commissions from assassination brigade members. The previous number 8 was probably a tough guy. On the surface, Lee Songrui is 2 levels lower than Xiao Di, and should not be her opponent. However, Xiao Ming, her third brother, and her fifth brother all let her fight boldly. Could it be that they are planning to give up this game in order to let the ninth sister have fun? Actually, it's not. Lee Songrui still has a certain chance of winning against Xiao Di. You know, the combat effectiveness of the plot characters is fixed whether in the reincarnation world or in the secret realm of the game. But players are different. In the secret realm, players can exert several times the combat effectiveness in reality, which is a great advantage. Do you still remember the purpose of the new Han Kingdom developing the Magic Planet game? To cultivate talents. In the game, the same moves, skills, or magic, the energy consumed by the player is much lower than in reality. Invisibly, there is more energy available for combat. If the opponent is evenly matched or slightly stronger than himself, the player is likely to defeat the opponent in the game. Accumulate valuable combat experience. Xiao Ming's source energy has been growing slowly for more than 30 years. It is also because after entering the game, every time he uses source energy, he consumes less, which promotes the growth of his source energy. This energy advantage is most obvious in low-end battles. Besides, Zhu Mei's opponent Xiao Di is not a martial arts nin ability user. Due to her special ability, she mainly does finishing, carrying, and logistics work. In terms of combat, she is just average. It is really suitable for Zhu Mei to practice. Lee Songrui's special training is good. Not only has her spiritual power improved a lot, but the most amazing thing is that she has practiced her family swordsmanship to a relatively mature level. She used the Jade Maiden sword to perform the exquisite swordsmanship inherited from her family, and fought against Xiao Di, who was using the vacuum cleaner. Of course, Xiao Di was the one who suffered. The two women fought back and forth, and the fight was quite lively. Gradually, Xiao Di fell into a disadvantage. Xiao Ming should definitely take the blame for this. What was Miss Zhu doing before entering the secret realm? She was eating the fruit rich in spiritual power sent by Xiao Ming. So now Miss Zhu's spiritual power is unusually full. Moreover, the stomach is still digesting the fruit, and the spiritual power is constantly replenished. Not only can she fight for a long time, but even every sword thrust is more powerful than before. Every time Xiao Di used the vacuum cleaner beast bulging eye fish to block the Jade Maiden sword, the beast would be injured, and Xiao Di had to keep using her mind to repair it. At the same time, the sword wind of the sword would also hurt Xiao Di's body. Although they were all superficial injuries, the accumulation of them seriously consumed her physical strength. Xiao Di saw the opportunity and swung the vacuum cleaner suddenly, forcing Li Songrui back 2 steps. At the same time, she quickly jumped back 7 or 8 meters away. The big mouth of the vacuum cleaner is the most accurate for Li Songrui. The girl with a good figure shouted, "Bulging-eyed fish! Suck her sword away!" The Jade Maiden sword flew out of her hand and headed for the big mouth of the bulging-eyed fish. Once the sword is eaten by the vacuum cleaner bulging-eyed fish, Li Songrui will definitely lose. Xiaodai is quite smart. Sword control technique, the Jade Maiden sword, which was almost eaten, suddenly changed direction with a cry from the little loli, and pierced Xiaodai's abdomen with one sword. It turned around and flew back to Miss Nine's hand. The outcome of this battle was determined. Even Xiao Ming didn't expect that the Li family would know the Shushan sword technique. This spell consumes a lot of spiritual power, and Li Songrui can't use it in reality. Only in this environment can she perform it. The sword technique of the immortal family is naturally extraordinary, and Xiao Di was dealt with one sword. Seeing the smug look of the little loli walking back, the 3 brothers hurriedly offered some exquisite flattery. Li Songrui himself was embarrassed. Over there, Maki hurriedly used her telekinesis to sew up Xiao Di, but saved Xiaodi's life. The faces of all the members of the brigade became even uglier. The little girl who just went into battle was only 13 years old. She didn't look very strong, but she had this magical trick. The level of the other people can be imagined. The sword technique is extremely powerful. The members of the brigade think that it is a very magical telekinesis. Li Songrui and the third young master, the two brothers, are not telekinesis users. But when they reach the level, they can naturally see other people's telekinesis, or life energy. Similarly, although the members of the brigade do not have spiritual power, they can also see the spiritual power of these two brothers. As for supernatural energy, they only know about telekinesis, so they regard spiritual power as some kind of upgraded telekinesis. This cognition is also in line with the facts. Spiritual power is indeed much more advanced than telekinesis. The next battle will be upgraded. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1014. Different from the battle between two girls, the battle between Longwu and the knight was very fast and extremely fierce. Longwu's fighting style is actually the same as Li Songrui's, and he doesn't even have magic ability. He did play the Magic Planet game, but not every game player can understand magic. In particular, he rarely logs into the replicas of the Yanhuang 3-star systems, and there is no magic-rich environment to nurture him. However, Longwu's attainments in martial arts and spiritual power far surpassed Mischu's, and he also had telekinesis. I just don't know what his special telekinesis ability is. In fact, at this time, Longwu had not yet obtained special abilities, and he came to the Hunter's secret realm just to collect some outstanding abilities. His first target is actually the ability of the leader of the Phantom Troop. But this difficulty is too high, and it just hangs in the sky as a dream. His real goal is the abilities of his team members. There are many talents in the Phantom Troop, and all kinds of special abilities emerge in endlessly. It's not hard to find a good one. The abilities of this knight are pretty good. Knight, member number 6 of the Phantom Troop, possesses telekinesis ability, and has a combat effectiveness level of B-. Responsible for processing and analyzing intelligence within the brigade. Pay more attention to theory than emotion, and always speak with reason. It is the staff role in the brigade. Perhaps because of this, his fighting ability isn't all that great. Of course it cannot be underestimated. The knight is not a plot character who likes killing. He generally only kills when necessary. Slightly less sinful than other members. But it's not much lighter. As an intelligence officer, he often kills people and silences them in order not to reveal his identity. Many of them are innocent. The knight is an operating system telepathic person. The special ability is called Carrying the Destiny of Others. He has a telepathic puppet mobile phone with 2 antennas, one for other people and one for himself. At the same time, this mobile phone can also be used to communicate with members of the brigade. When the accessory antenna is inserted into another person's body, the other person can become the knight's puppet until death or until the antenna falls off. If you insert the antenna into your body, your telekinesis will be enhanced, and then you will activate the automatic mode and continue fighting until you kill the enemy in front of you. During this period of time, the knight will be in an unconscious state. In his own words, this is the least fulfilling ability. He has no experience at all, whether it is victory or defeat. Moreover, in the 2 or 3 days after winning the battle, the knight will have difficulty moving due to muscle soreness. In a relatively weak state. It can be seen from this that even if they are not full-time combat personnel, the members of the brigade are still quite capable. The vigilante's antenna can be inserted into the enemy's body during a one-on-one fight and he will win immediately. If you can't beat it, inserting it into yourself can also temporarily increase a lot of combat effectiveness. Maybe you can defeat an opponent who is stronger than yourself. Therefore, The knight's fighting style is mainly based on high-speed mobile combat with agile movement. Longwu suffered a big loss from the knight. However, Xiaoming looked at Longwu's life energy and doubted that this kid lost on purpose because he didn't want to expose his strength. The information about the Li family is already very good. But he only knew that knights could control others. Longwu also paid special attention to this during the battle and was not stabbed by knights. What a sensitive person the knight is. After a few rounds of fighting, he discovered that Longwu was deliberately avoiding contact with him. Only greet with weapons. He immediately understood that the other party knew part of his abilities. So he stopped wasting time and immediately plugged in the antenna on himself. In just one move, the right arm of the Dragon 5 character was broken. Seeing that the situation was not good, Xiaoming raised his hand and shot out a long piece of telekinesis gum, dragging the injured Longwu back. However, the knight was already in automatic mode and had to kill the enemy, so he rushed towards Xiaoming at full speed. As a result, Xiaoming threw a Bing Xianju at Duodu, and he miraculously calmed down and exited the automatic mode. Everyone in the Phantom Troop who knew the Vigilante's abilities were shocked. This ability actually exists. Could it be that he is a mind-killing master? It doesn't even look like it. How can there be such a powerful mind-killing master? Xiaoming didn't care what they thought and said to the knight, "That's it. We lost this game. You can leave at will." The knight was full of shock and saluted Xiaoming. He actually really ran away. Xiaoming thought he would stay and watch the battle. The knight's escape was of course to leave this place quickly and call the leader. Report your observations to the group leader. After that, he will continue to observe from a distance and collect intelligence. At the same time, Ma Qi actually came over and offered to help Longwu repair his arm in exchange for Xiaoming letting Xiao Di go. Xiaoming himself can actually repair Longwu's arm, and he can even get it done by going to the hospital. But he still agreed. The purpose was to get a closer look at Mage's abilities, which are very useful medical abilities in many worlds. Ma Qi intuitively felt that this wooden person had the least malice towards Xiaodai. That's why I asked him to let Xiaodai go. Although his medical ability is excellent, it is not difficult for the brigade to find similar talents. Xiaodai's abilities are rare. The other three guys, Nobunaga Hashama, Phaeton, and Franklin are all fighting factions. Fighters are more common than medics. Besides, if they really fight, they may not lose. More importantly, they would never agree to escape in this way. A few minutes later, Maki reattached Longwu's broken arm. Xiaoming observed the whole process and learned her ability to read. Xiaoming is very talented in this aspect. He added this ability to his uniform series of Mind Beast's nurse. Added a new item to it, needle and thread. Although the nurse does not have Maki's combat power, she has the same suturing ability as Maki. This wave is definitely a big profit. In fact, Maki's intuition is very accurate. Only Xiaodai is a member of the brigade who may be spared by Xiaoming. The others have killed many innocent people and their sins are quite serious. Especially Phaeton, he not only killed people like crazy, but also liked to torture and kill in order to interrogate the enemy. This aggravated his sins. Although Maki herself is a medical player, she is not a doctor. She has no habit of helping patients. This is completely different from Li Oreo. There are almost no good people among the people she rescued. Even if she occasionally helped good people, it was in exchange for greater benefits, just like helping Longwu now. This is not considered a good deed in the eyes of the underworld. In addition, Maki number 11 was one of the founding members of the Phantom Troop, which means she was also involved in the massacre of the Kuruda tribe. This sin is definitely not light. In terms of life energy, she is no different from Nobunaga and others. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1015. The sword used by the third young master in reality is a precious sword from the reincarnation space. This sword naturally cannot be used in the secret realm of Hunter x Hunter. In the past, he used an ordinary long sword made of fine steel. After a long time, he and Longwu made some money together and bought a good sword in this secret realm. The swordsmanship of the third young master is almost the same as that of Miss Nine and Longwu. If you don't pay attention to the other dagger that shuttles in the air at the same time. The sword control of the third young master is more mature, and he can control a short sword as long as a dagger, which is relatively more energy saving. His fighting method is to fight with the enemy with swordsmanship on one side and control a dagger to fly around and harass on the other side. This requires a high level of mental strength. The most important thing is that these two swords are very sharp. The third young master covers the spiritual power on the two swords to increase their sharpness and toughness. The effect is better than strengthening the telekinesis. At the beginning, it caused a lot of trouble to Phaeton, who was fighting in the Phantom Troop. He actually wanted to fight Mutio more, and was forced by others to fight the third young master. Phaeton, the second member of the Phantom Troop. A B-level transformation telepath. Few people know about his special ability. Anyway, the Lee family didn't get the information. Even without the special ability, Phaeton's combat power is one of the best in the troop. In a one-on-one fight, he is actually the most likely to win. But he can't be allowed to bully Miss Nine or Longwu, because they are not equal in strength. Doing so would be cheating. So he can only fight the third young master. Phaeton's movement speed is very fast, and his swordsmanship is amazing. He usually holds an umbrella in his hand, and his sword is hidden in the umbrella handle. In addition to his short stature, Xiaoming always feels that he is very similar to his follower Fei Ying. Even the names are very similar. Originally, after watching the battle between Li Songrui and Longwu, Phaeton also got a little understanding of the Li family's swordsmanship. Unexpectedly, the third young master's fighting style was completely different. The flying sword that kept shuttling in the air was still quite threatening to him. Although Phaeton was fast, he was not faster than the sword control technique. If he was really stabbed, it would be a big hole. Moreover, the third young master, who had been using the sword control technique for many years, had excellent eyesight and was not slow on his feet. Phaeton could not sneak attack him unexpectedly. Of course, Phaeton, who had experienced many battles, was not afraid. He tried his best to familiarize himself with the third young master's routines in the battle. He was ready to seize the opportunity to attack at any time. Both of them were very fast. Longwu was fine, but Li Songrui really couldn't see their movement trajectory at all, and felt bored. Ding, the third young master stabbed with a sword, but was blocked by Phaeton, who raised his sword. Then Phaeton tilted his head and dodged the sneak attack of the flying dagger. However, at this moment, a white light flashed, and a blade covered with spiritual power was ejected from the hilt of the third young master's sword. Sliding along the sword spine at high speed, it broke Phaeton's sword with a clang sound, and the remaining force directly penetrated Phaeton's right chest and pierced his lung. Phaeton jumped back, half knelt on the ground with his hands, and a large amount of blood flowed out of the wound. I never expected that the third young master would still have the strength to control the second flying sword. Phaeton, don't, Maki shouted. Phaeton turned his head and looked at Maki. Maki shook his head seriously and said, "Look at this terrain, it's not possible. You admit defeat this round, and wait and see the result of our next round." Pa, Phaeton spit out a mouthful of blood and sat on the ground. I lost. His tone was full of unwillingness. Maki walked to his side and turned his head to look at Xiaoming. The meaning in his eyes was to ask if she was allowed to heal Phaeton. Xiaoming didn't stop him, and nodded to show his agreement. Watching her skills again is also a layer of understanding. As for Phaeton, Xiaoming didn't take it seriously. The third young master's move was quite powerful. People of the same level would probably find it difficult to deal with his swordsmanship and flying sword. What's more, he could use the second flying sword to attack at any time, which was really hard to defend against. The brigade felt that they were most confident in the battle, but they lost. In fact, they also felt that they were quite confident in the first two battles. In the end, it was still one win and one loss. What? You said that the win was not fair. But that was also the third young master's ability. In other words, the hunter world has all kinds of strange abilities, and more than 80% of them rely on the opponent's unfamiliarity to win. None of them can be considered fair. What's more, some people's strength is cultivated by themselves, while others are given by the reincarnation space. Are reincarnationists really fair? How about people like Xiaoming who have opened super plugins? In a fight, winning or losing is still the main thing. Nothing else matters. Maki treated Xiaodai, Longyue, and Phaeton in succession, and then wanted to immediately join the last 3-on-1 battle. Nobunaga and Franklin stopped her. 3-on-1 was a bit embarrassing, but 1-on-1 was really not a chance of winning. So this time, Nobunaga and Franklin decided to fight 2-on-1. The two of them would fight Mewtwo. Maki could hold the line in the back first. If the two of them couldn't win, Maki could always make up for it. Nobunaga Hashama, the third member of the Phantom Troupe. He usually likes to wear Japanese-style bathrobes and shorts. He has a coconut-like hairstyle on his head and a scruffy beard. He looks very sloppy. He is a master of IAI sword drawing. He is probably a person with enhanced telekinesis ability. It is very likely that his sword is enhanced by telekinesis. For anyone who breaks into his 4-meter radius, he has the confidence to cut him in two in an instant. Of course, this has its limits. Xiaoming doesn't believe he can cut the Ant King Miru M in half. It's hard to say whether he can even break the skin. He can only cut opponents of the same level at most. Franklin, the 7th member of the Phantom Troupe. He looks like Frankenstein's monster. He looks very fierce. But it is said that he has an honest personality and is very considerate of his companions. Of course, this honesty is relative. So many people died in the auction venue, and more than 90% of them were killed by him. Franklin is a telepathic user. His special ability is called double-handed machine gun. He transformed his two hands into gun muzzles and fired blocky telepathic bullets from his 10 fingers to attack the enemy. Of course, you don't have to deliberately transform your fingers to fire telepathic bullets, but he thought doing this seems to be more powerful, so he cut off his fingers. In fact, the destructive power of telepathic bullets is greatly increased, and more effective bullets can be fired infinitely. This is the characteristic of telepathic ability, which is very idealistic. Nobunaga and Franklin are both B-level masters. One is close combat and the other is long range, one is good at 1-on-1, and the other is suitable for group attacks and fire suppression. They are a perfect match in combat. How much strength can they exert against Xiaoming? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1016. OF*CK. What the hell is this? A curse word floated in the minds of all the brigade members at the scene. Including Xiaodai, Phaeton, Maki, Nobunaga, Franklin, and the knight watching the battle from a distance with a telescope. They thought it was 2 against 1, or 3 against 1. Although they knew the real scene was that 2 brigade members had to fight against hundreds of skeleton soldiers. At the first moment of the battle, Xiaoming used Death Harvest. With his current mental power, magic level, and expertise in skeleton soldiers. After he harvested the hundreds of corpses of gang members at the scene, hundreds of 3-4 level skeleton soldiers with various weapons appeared. Xiaoming used a little more mana to improve the overall level of the skeleton soldiers. 3-4 level soldiers are equivalent to D-level reincarnations. Especially Xiaoming now has mastered the summoning method of flying skeleton soldiers. About 1/4 of them were actually flying skeleton soldiers with bone wings. Although the members of the brigade were all B-level masters, 2 levels higher. But they couldn't stand up to so many D-level enemies. Fortunately, these skeleton soldiers were very principled. Xiaodai and Phaeton, who had already been defeated, and Maki, who did not participate in the battle, were not attacked by the skeleton soldiers around them. This group of skeletons with weapons rushed towards Franklin and Nobunaga. Tuesday Franklin activated his two-handed machine gun and kept firing fiercely at the surroundings. Fortunately, he was in this group and could still deal with it. People like Xiaodai, and Maki were simply impossible to fight. Nobunaga tightly protected considering, and any skeletons that rushed within 4 meters of them were split in half by him like lightning. However, D-level skeleton soldiers are not as easy to deal with as gangsters. First of all, their attack power, defense power, and even combat quality are much higher than those of the gangsters. And they are fearless. Secondly, the skeleton soldiers are all skeletons, and many parts of their bodies are empty. Franklin's machine gun bullets often miss. Even if they hit, they are often penetrating wounds that break 1 or 2 ribs, and there is no substantial damage to the skeleton soldiers. To kill a skeleton soldier, you need to consume more than a dozen or even dozens of bullets. In terms of quantity alone, Franklin does not think that he has enough telekinesis to destroy all the skeleton soldiers. Finally, the most troublesome are the flying skeleton soldiers. They fly in the air at high speed, and their formation is extremely scattered. Franklin's machine gun is not convenient for strafing. It may take several times more ammunition to kill a flying skeleton soldier. And when they dive down, they are accelerated by the Earth's gravity, and their speed becomes faster. It makes Nobunaga exhausted. Even if they were cut off, the 2 members of the brigade had to dodge the huge pile of bones falling down. Only 7 or 8 minutes after the start of the war, Nobunaga and Franklin were in a tough fight. Phaeton regretted it. He shouldn't have listened to everyone's advice and dealt with the third young master by himself. As a result, not only did he fail to win the battle, but he also got himself involved. What's more, he couldn't participate in this battle. If he joined, he should be able to use his speed and swordsmanship to kill a bone road and rush to the enemy's main body. Phaeton looked around and found that the enemy's main body was gone. The wood that claimed to be from the Zaldik family was nowhere to be found. The 3 people of the Li family were not surprised at all. Zhang Xiaoming was good at necromancy and invisibility, which were all intelligence they had known for a long time. However, they were still very shocked to see such a large number of D-level skeleton soldiers at this moment. Ask yourself, if you and others were in the position of the brigade, you would be just as helpless. You can only use your trump card or fight for consumption. Theoretically, the more powerful the move, the greater the energy consumption. Zhang Xiaoming's undead magic is so powerful that it will not last long. So just get through this stage, but you must guard against his stealth and sneak attack. This is the analysis and reaction of a normal person to Xiaoming's ability. The people in the brigade obviously think so. Maki even shouted out the disappearance of the wood. Remind Franklin and Nobunaga to know to avoid being caught off guard. Phaeton tried not to move, but secretly accumulated energy, muttering to himself, as if he was ready to intervene at any time. The only 2 people who stayed out and watched the fun were Li Songrui and Xiaodai. Li Songrui had no interest in who was strong or weak, who won or lost. He was just happy for the great power of the leader brother. Xiaodai was a natural fool. Since it was something she was powerless to change, she didn't bother about it. She just focused on watching the fun. This magical ability to turn hundreds of corpses into skeletons is unheard of. Of course, I have to take a closer look. Xiaoming originally planned to let the skeleton soldiers have a good time. However, his circle found something strange, so he accelerated the battle. Franklin and Nobunaga suddenly felt their feet soften, and then their lower bodies sank into the mud. Along with them, there were a dozen of the nearest skeleton soldiers. If they were not surrounded by the skeleton soldiers and could not run away, they would not be trapped. Even if they were trapped for a while, they would have the ability to escape. But countless skeleton soldiers swarmed up, and in less than half a minute, the upper bodies of the two were chopped with countless wounds, and blood was pouring out. It was obvious that they were doomed to lose. Xiaoming looked at Maki, thinking that she would immediately admit defeat, but unexpectedly, Maki shouted with tears in her eyes, "Phaeton! Now!" "What?" Xiaoming couldn't help but look at Phaeton. He had changed into a strange telekinetic outfit. He spoke a strange language. Unforgivable sinner. Burned by the scorching sun. A ball of light gathered by telekinesis appeared in front of Phaeton, rose to the sky, and like the sun, it emitted scorching heat indiscriminately in all directions. Phaeton's special telekinesis ability was unknown to the four people on Xiaoming's side. Caught off guard, the three people of the Li family were turned into ashes. Xiaoming was protected by a mental shield, so he was naturally not hurt at all. He vaguely saw that it seemed that the third young master and Longwu were planning to take some measures. However, Li Songrui was too weak and died first. They were worried that if they didn't die, their sister would definitely take it out. So the two of them simply gave up resistance and went to die generously. Besides, it was worth the trip to see so many members of the brigade, especially to understand Phaeton's special ability of mind. As for the character's death, he will lose his identity as an Isra gangster. This price is not worth mentioning. After a while, the energy of the burning sun was exhausted, and all the skeleton soldiers were burned to slag. Miraculously, all the members of the brigade survived. They all knew Phaeton's special ability. They made preparations in advance. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1017. In fact, when Phaeton just lost to the third young master, he almost used this ultimate killing ability. It was Maki who stopped him at that time. In a confined space like the valley, if Phaeton used unforgivable sins, the other members of the brigade would not be able to stand it without being prepared. Even if he killed all four people on the opposite side, the brigade would lose half of its members, which was unbearable. This ability should be saved for the last battle. If the brigade wins against Mewtwo, then the others will not be afraid. If they lose, they can still use this trick to die together. Maki still has some confidence in the combination of Nobunaga and Franklin. At least try it first. However, things did not go as planned. Who would have thought that Mewtwo was actually a super necromancer? His fighting style is very different from that of ordinary people. In a few moves, Nobunaga and his men are in danger. He can also be invisible. Now he is hiding in the dark, and it is unknown when he will make a move. Even if Maki didn't send a signal at this time, Phaeton would directly use his special ability. With the previous dialogue warning, Xiaodai and Maki quietly dug a pit for themselves at their feet. When Phaeton used his ability, they jumped into the pit and concentrated their telekinesis on a small area above their heads. Finally, they survived. But they were both exhausted. Nobunaga and Franklin, who were trapped by Xiaoming in the swamp pit, turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Not only did half of their bodies hide underground, but their upper bodies were actually covered tightly by the layers of skeleton soldiers rushing over. With these skeleton soldiers blocking in the middle, the two of them survived. It's just that the burns and cuts were a bit serious. In comparison, Xiaodai and Maki's injuries were much lighter. Similarly, don't look at Phaeton's big move to clear the field, it's called majestic. But after such a powerful telekinesis output, he is now very weak. In fact, it's worse than the situation of the knight. The knight was outside the valley, watching the developments here with a telescope. He let out a long sigh. We won. Captain. Phaeton used a special move. Yes, yes, those people are dead. They turned into ashes in front of my eyes. Oh, it's okay, our people are alive. I go, what's going on? Suddenly, he felt that the surroundings were pitch black, and he seemed to be wrapped in a quilt. At the same time, all his telekinesis was locked and he couldn't break free. The mobile phone that was materialized by telekinesis also disappeared. In fact, what wrapped him was the ability of one of the yin beasts owl, magical furoshiki. This ability is to use telekinesis to make a big furoshiki. The wrapped things, even people, will gradually become smaller with the furoshiki and be wrapped up. In the end, it was as small as a pigeon egg, which can be easily put in the pocket and taken away. The wrapped people seem to have lost the ability to resist. It is very likely that they were restricted to the absolute state. The yin beast is the direct subordinate unit of 10 old men, the backstage of Yukiksen City. 4 of them had died at the hands of Wojin just now. Xiao was the follow-up force, and 5 other non-users appeared around him one after another. They were the remaining 6 yin beasts. They all seemed to have some skills. The knight was really unlucky. He and Longwu won and were released by Xiao Ming. But he did not leave, but stayed in the distance to observe. And he kept talking to the leader, keeping in touch, and reporting the battle situation. This is a change of career to become an anchor. The knight has always been highly vigilant, until the moment Fei Ten released his ultimate move just now, he had to close his eyes quickly. After the ultimate move, the knight was in a hurry to confirm the situation and report to the leader. He slightly relaxed the investigation of the surrounding environment. As a result, he was discovered and attacked by the owl who had just arrived. With the speed of the knight, it should not be a problem to avoid such an attack. But it was too hasty at this time and he was caught off guard. In addition, he had just released the ultimate move not long ago, and his muscles were sore all over his body, so he couldn't avoid it. He was captured by the ability of the owl. The 6 yin beasts that came later saw that Phaeton was the only one left in the valley, so they rushed in. Poor Phaeton, he was bullied by dogs when he was in a low position. If his telekinesis had not been exhausted and his body was no longer under his control, how could he lose to these little characters? After struggling to kill a yin beast, Phaeton was also seriously injured and passed out. If the yin beasts had not wanted to keep him for interrogation, Phaeton would have died by now. Looking at this valley full of ashes, the 5 yin beasts were also full of questions. What on earth happened here? You may want to ask, why didn't Xiaodai, Maki, and others help Phaeton at this time? That's because their telekinesis had also been exhausted. When the yin beasts and Phaeton were fighting, they were secretly knocked unconscious by the invisible Xiaoming one by one and taken into the Bright Summit. This Bright Summit is the embodiment of Xiaoming's ability in the game. It is not the same Bright Summit that Xiaoming is undergoing the transformation of the Soul Gem in reality. While the yin beasts were searching the valley, 2 cars drove in. The doors opened and 6 people got out of the cars. The leader was wearing a black windbreaker and had a purple cross tattoo on his forehead. He was handsome and extraordinary. He was the leader of the Phantom Troop, Kuroro Luciro. Seeing the situation here and Phaeton being beaten badly, his expression did not change at all. He asked the 5 yin beasts in a deep voice, "Are you the subordinates of that wooden man? Where is he?" "What? Boy, open your dog eyes and see clearly, we are not the subordinates of the wooden ones. Grandpa is the direct subordinate of the 10 old men. Who are you?" After these words came out, the people of the Phantom Troop no longer paid attention to them. They didn't take them seriously at all. Sphinx, who was wearing clothes similar to those of an Egyptian pharaoh, asked Kurora, "Captain, they are yin beasts and don't know Mutio. Why is this so strange? Analyze it for me. Kuroro pondered for a few seconds and said, it's normal for yin beasts to appear here. They will definitely come when the auction is attacked. Mutio's group may have been killed by Phaeton's trick. They came here later and got a bargain. Paknota, who has a devilish figure and dresses like a career woman, said. Maybe so, then what should we do? And were Franklin and the others also burned to death? Hisso suddenly took over the conversation, he, just take these people down and ask them and you will know. However, please be careful. Finks said angrily, what are you careful about? I can deal with these guys by myself. No, Finks. What Hisoka means is that we should be careful of Mutio who may not be dead yet, right? Kuroro said calmly. Hisso. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1018. It seems we shouldn't have come. It's too late to regret now. Can you leave one hand behind? No, if you want to leave your people behind. This classic scene was played out several times in Xiaoming's mind. It didn't actually happen. Kuroro Luzalu was not interested in doing such boring things with Xiaoming. Before, Xiaoming had never used his full strength, just because he didn't want to expose too much strength in front of the Li brothers and sisters. He also planned to wait for the rest of the brigade members. At that time, if he had used his overwhelming strength to kill Nobunaga and others, then the captain and others might not come to support. Maybe, they would just divide their luggage and disband. You go back to Huaguo Mountain, I go back to Gaolazhuang. Just kidding, what they are most likely to do is to return to Meteor Street to replenish their manpower. Then, based on Mutio's strength, they will formulate a new revenge plan. Meteor Street is such an existence. If you are wronged, you will retaliate 100% of the time. Now, all the members of the brigade have arrived, and the 3 members of the Li family have also received lunch boxes. Xiaoming no longer needs to worry about exposing his strength. Before the Yin Beast and the Phantom Troop had time to fight, the invisible Xiaoming had already taken action. Thousands of 1-2 level puppets suddenly appeared at the outermost edge of the valley. Although Xiaoming also wanted to produce skeleton soldiers, he did not have undead materials, but puppet materials, and there were a lot of them stored in the wooden Guangmingding. Then, within the encirclement of the puppets, more than 100 sea-level shadow clones appeared, wearing various uniforms. The members of the brigade were dazzled. In front of them, more than 30 B-level 7 stars shadow clones appeared, each with a pair of Mangekyo Sharinan. This is not over yet. Beside the 7 stars shadow clones are 13 alien King Kongs and 2 Transformers, Zhang Ren and Zhang Hong. They are all B-level combat power. Among the members of the brigade, the strongest is B-level, and perhaps some can reach B and level. The 6 members faced nearly 50 masters with similar strength to themselves, and hundreds of low-level helpers. They had no chance at all. In fact, if the 7th shadow clone used Susanoo, it would be close to the strength of A level, and the brigade might find it difficult to resist. Those yin beasts were even worse. They dared to get angry in front of the brigade. But facing such a large number of enemies, the 6 people's legs were weak and some of them even lost control of their bladders. But no one blamed him in this situation. All the yin beasts were almost trembling and dared not move. They didn't even have the courage to step forward and say a word. The brigade was better. Kuroro stood up to negotiate with the clones of Mu on behalf of the brigade. He saw a key point. That is, Mu didn't seem to intend to kill them. Otherwise, there would be no need to make such a big scene. Sending 1/3 of them would kill everyone present. There is no need to surround them like this without taking action. Now this posture is obviously forcing them to surrender. This means that I and others are still useful to this wooden man. Could it be that he wants to replace the Zaldik family? For that kind of thing, we can't use people like us, right? In any case, this is the troop's only chance of survival. Kurora must seize it. Speaking of which, Xiaoming has always disliked the murderous villains like the Phantom Troop. Why did he keep them this time? Of course, it is for the Chimera ants in this world. Although Xiaoming is quite powerful. But if he faces the Ant King Miru M in this world, he will still be in danger of death. In this secret realm, the story of Chimera ants will also develop in the future. The system is expected to ensure that the story happens normally. It will not give players the opportunity to eradicate Chimera ants in advance. Even if Xiaoming really finds an opportunity to eliminate the Chimera ant queen, the system only needs to swipe out another one somewhere else. There is no need for the mastermind to make a great effort to make a wish to Nanaga to revive the Chimera ant queen like in the reincarnation world. Moreover, President Netero in this secret realm is his real master. Xiaoming couldn't bear to watch him die in the hands of the Ant King. Even if that was the president's own wish. However, the chances of the human side winning are really not high. In the secret realm, Xiaoming's strongest subordinates, Zhangzhong and Neferpitu, cannot participate in the battle. The high-end combat power is seriously insufficient. Therefore, Xiaoming set his sights on the Phantom Troop. Xiaoming doesn't feel bad about using their lives to fill it. Even if they make up for it a little, they have committed sins before. Doing so may be a bit unfair to Kurapika. However, Xiaoming believes that facing the overall situation of human survival, Kurapika will know the general situation. Some people may have doubts. Since the Phantom Troop is an object that Xiaoming can easily eliminate, why should we subdue them? Even if we subdue them, how much chance of winning the battle against the Chimera ants can we increase? The answer is that it is very necessary. If they join the human side, it will greatly increase the chance of winning. The strength of the troop is really not dispensable. The strength of the brigade is definitely useful. The fighters among them are generally comparable to the division commander of the Chimera ants. The auxiliary personnel can probably deal with Chimera ants at the level of a corps captain. Of course, if they fight against the entire Chimera ant group alone, they will still lose. But that is different from the reason why the brigade lost to Xiaoming. The Chimera ants as a whole are far superior to the Phantom Troop in terms of high-end combat power and number. Xiaoming is far more numerous, with sufficient energy supply, and relies entirely on the human wave tactics. In terms of high-end combat power, Xiaoming is probably equivalent to one of the Ant King's guards. If the Phantom Troop is allowed to form a team, they can definitely hold back one or two of the Ant King's guards if they cooperate well. The premise is that there are not too many Chimera ants around the guards to make trouble. This kind of work cannot be done by Xiaoming's clones or mind beasts. Because Xiaoming's intelligence is only at an average level, the experience and wisdom in combat are even more scarce. They do not have the ability to adapt to changes and formulate precise combat plans like the Phantom Troop. If they can join the Phantom Troop, this killer weapon, on the side of the Human Crusade team, it is definitely an essential improvement. The only question is whether the Phantom Troop will surrender to Xiaoming. If the Phantom Troop refuses to surrender, then Xiaoming will never show mercy and will directly destroy the entire troop. For a few people who are not deeply sinful, Xiaoming may let them go after inserting a sword to reward good and punish evil. However, there are no more than 3 people in the group who can receive such treatment. Almost every member of the group is fearless. People are not afraid of death, but they are afraid of death. Threatening life alone is useless to the Phantom Troop. However, once all members die at the same time, it means that the Phantom Troop is completely destroyed. This is what most members of the group do not want to see. It is also one of the few chips in Xiaoming's hand. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1019. If the strength of the Chimera ants is set at 10, then the strength of the Chimera ants suppression team sent by humans in the original work is about 3. The Chimera ants suppression team consists of Netero, the president of the Hunter Association, 1-star ocean hunter Moruoa, the magical space ability user Nob, Moruoa's apprentices Nakuru and Shoto, Nob's apprentice Palm, and 2 genius protagonists Gon and Killua. Killua's father Silva and grandfather Zeno are not counted. They were just helping out on the way and did not really participate in the war. They took action in the reincarnation world because Xiao Ming bribed them with a large price. Normally, they would not participate in the war. Most of the combat power of the expedition team is concentrated on the President Netero, and Gon's combat power against Catwoman is also very strong. Unfortunately, Gon's combat power is temporary, and the restrictions and oaths he made are too strict. Since it is not a power that can be used at will, the calculation of combat power has to be discounted. Our classmate Xiao Ming's overall strength is about 1-2. He is much stronger in reality than in the game. After all, in reality, you can send out Zhangzhong, Neferpitu, Xiaohong, Xiaolu, Karama, Feiying and other masters, but in the game you can't. The strength of the Phantom Troop is about 1. It's worse than Xiao Ming, but it can't be underestimated. If the 3 parties join forces, 3 add 1, 2, add 1, it's still a long way from 10. The task of keeping Netero alive is still very difficult. To be honest, even if a few more masters are stuffed into the final battle between the King of Ants and Netero, I'm afraid it won't change the final outcome. Miru M is really too strong. Fortunately, Xiao Ming now has a certain understanding of the plot. After all, he has experienced it once. He also knows the existence of Xiaomei. Moreover, Xiaomei was affected by Zeno's ultimate move Dragon Star Group in the final battle, causing fatal injuries, which became an important key to that battle. If you make good use of this, I guess there is still a chance. However, this requires collective efforts and a good plan. The Phantom Troop is a group of masters with different abilities, among whom there are many wise men, and they should be able to play a big role. The Phantom Troop finally surrendered. The decisive factor was the leader of the troop, Kuroro Luciro. If he would rather die than surrender and resolutely refuse to compromise, the desperate gang of the troop would probably die to the end, and there might not be many people left in the end. As a thief organization from Meteor Street, the Phantom Troop has certain obligations to Meteor Street. It is the main source of funds for the military force of Meteor Street. They like to rob and steal, and the wealth they obtain, in addition to keeping a part for themselves, a lot of it is used to transfuse blood to Meteor Street. Only in a lawless place like Meteor Street can the Phantom Troop, such a strange and brutal thief group, be cultivated. The 2 parties agreed that the Phantom Troop can obey the leadership of Mutio, and at the same time, Mutio must be responsible for dispatching and completing the obligations of the Phantom Troop to Meteor Street. All members of the brigade can obey Mu, but the leader cannot. Kuroro must be free. He will return to Meteor Street and form a new brigade from scratch. Of course, Kuroro guarantees that the new brigade will kill as few lives as possible and avoid unnecessary killings. Kuroro even promised that the new brigade will go to help in the future battle against Chimera ants. At least he will go there. Of course, if everyone destroys the Chimera ants together. By then, Xiao Ming must also release the members of the Phantom Troop who are still alive. As long as these living members do not commit serious crimes again, Xiao Ming cannot hunt them down again. It is fair and reasonable to exchange the lives of all members of the brigade for such treatment. However, Xiao Ming's intuition tells him that Kuroro's change of attitude and lowering of requirements is not for Meteor Street or the name of the Phantom Troop. The biggest possibility is that he mentioned the Chimera ants. He is willing for the brigade to fight against the Chimera ants. Kurora's real idea is definitely not to fight the Chimera ants for the noble purpose of continuing the human race. Xiaoming feels that he is purely against the Chimera ants, as if he has a grudge against the ants. The reason is unknown. Kurora is a resident of Meteor Street, and the Chimera ants are from the Dark Continent. Logically, they should not have any intersection. Is there any story between Kurora and the Chimera ants that must be told? In any case, since the leader compromised, Xiaoming's goal has been achieved. That little gossip soul does not need to be satisfied. After reaching an agreement, Xiaoming first released Maki and others who were imprisoned in Guangmingding and treated them collectively. Then he summoned the lawyer Nian Beast and signed the above contract with all the members of the Phantom Troop except Wojin. As for the 5 Yin Beast members, they are too weak to help in the battle, but there is also the risk of leaking secrets. As the thugs of the gang, each of the Yin Beasts has also killed many people for no reason, and the degree of sin is even as serious as that of the Phantom Troop members. Although he is not very capable, he has done a lot of bad things. Xiaoming really cannot let him go. In fact, in the Hunter world, the top criminals are not the Phantom Troop, but the high-level politicians of various countries. It's a pity that Xiaoming has no chance to meet such people. Xiaoming simply knocked out all the Yin Beasts, put them into the Bright Summit, and then sealed them all with purple crystals. In the process of signing the contract, he also discovered an interesting thing about the troop. Hisoka is not a real member of the troop, he is just a fake. The Phantom Troop has a rule. If you want to join the troop, you can kill a member of the troop first, and then you can replace this person as a new member. But if a member dies for other reasons, the leader will be responsible for finding a new member. Xiaodai was found by the leader. Each member of the troop will have a tattoo of a 12-legged spider with the member number written on it. Hisoka did kill the original member number 4, but he just used his mind ability to fake a tattoo on his back, pretending to join the troop. His purpose of sneaking into the troop was naturally to be able to fight Kurora. Discovering this, Xiaoming and Kurora were a little amused. The members of the troop glared at Hisoka. Hisoka was careless and didn't care. He also applied to Xiaoming, asking him to fight Kurora to the death right now. With the Chimera ants at the door, how could Xiaoming give up the entire Phantom Troop forest for a tree like him? Besides, facing the current situation, Hisoka can't run away either. He still has to sign a new contract obediently. Promise to accept Xiaoming's leadership to fight against the Chimera ants. He will be free after the war. The dust settled, and Captain Kurora left. Xiaoming's character, Mutio Yu, surrounded by a group of brigade members, seems to have become the new captain. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1020. Congratulations to the player for completing the hidden mission Subdue the Phantom Troop. You can get the following 3 rewards. After Xiaoming subdued the Phantom Troop, he thought that Miss Nine and the third young master were probably waiting for him outside. So he did nothing and directly exited the secret realm. As a result, he received a prompt from the game system. In the game, subduing the Phantom Troop is certainly qualified as a hidden mission. It is estimated that destroying the Phantom Troop should be another hidden mission. Xiaoming's character, Mutio Yu, may be the first person in the game to complete this hidden mission. He received 3 rewards provided by the system. The first is to greatly improve the player's character's telekinesis, that is, Mutio Yu's telekinesis. How to say this kind of reward? It is very useful for players with weak telekinesis, because they use the character's telekinesis in the secret realm. But for Xiaoming, it is of little use. Because Xiaoming uses his own telekinesis. The strength of the character does not have a big impact. But it is better to have it than not, so Xiaoming accepted it with a smile. The second reward allows Xiaoming to choose 3 members from the Phantom Troop and obtain the intermediate templates of their special abilities. The third reward is more interesting. It allows Xiaoming to obtain an advanced template of an ability. You can choose any NPC you have met before. Xiaoming has obtained an ability template once. At that time, he was still relatively weak, and he also obtained the primary template. The options at that time were Netero's 100-style Guanyin, Illumi's Disguise, Hisoka's Stretchable Love. Considering that the primary 100-style Guanyin is too weak and the disguise is not very useful, I chose the Stretchable Love at that time. Completed such a difficult hidden task to subdue the Phantom Troop. The reward obtained is indeed extraordinary. Xiaoming is overjoyed. However, Xiaoming does not want to make a hasty decision on such an important choice. Keep it for now and choose it later. It is more important to go out and meet Li Songrui first. In order to deal with the Phantom Troop, Xiaoming has wasted a lot of time. Little Loli must be waiting anxiously, right? As expected, Zhang Xiaoming, who had just climbed out of the game cabin, was kicked back by a little foot. After that, Xiaoming said a lot of good things and made a special food with the first level of source energy to make Jimei happy again. In fact, Li Songrui was too impatient. After exiting the secret realm, she ran out of the game cabin, waiting for the leader brother to come out and play with her. The third young master knew her temper and left the game cabin in time to accompany her sister. That prevented her from running away. If they were willing to wait in the game, they would get the reward given by the system when Xiaoming completed the task, just like Longwu. In that case, the little Loli would not be angry. Although the characters of the 3 people in the Li family have died, the 4 of them were in a team state when they entered the secret realm. Xiaoming completed the high difficulty hidden task, and they naturally got rewards. You can choose the intermediate template of the mind ability of any member of the brigade. The purpose of Longwu playing this secret realm is to obtain a special mind ability template. If it is an excellent ability, even a primary template is fine, not to mention an intermediate one. But the better than an ability, the harder it is to get a template. Longwu and the third young master have been playing in the game for so long, but they haven't gotten a suitable one yet. Today, they got 3 templates at once. The Li family made a fortune. Although the power of the intermediate template is definitely not as strong as the original version, it is still quite good. Longwu quickly chose the ability he wanted, the leader Kurora's Thief's Secret Book. You can steal other people's abilities for your own use. In the secret realm, it is very difficult to steal other people's abilities, and it is difficult to collect too many good abilities. But in reality, the Li family can pay people or arrange their subordinates to obtain various abilities. Then let Longwu steal them all. Make him a super master with all-round abilities. If it is for the sake of the family's interests. The third young master and the 9th miss should choose the ability template according to Longwu's needs and take the initiative to be stolen by him. Unfortunately, the brother and sister did not have that kind of overall view. Later, they each chose a fun template for their characters to play with. Miss 9 chose the knights carrying the fate of others. She found this ability to manipulate other people's thoughts very interesting. The third young master chose Phaeton's unforgivable sins. He died under this move. The third young master decided to master this desperate means. You know, neither of them has the ability to read. In order for the template to work, they have to open the ability to read for their characters. It's really a waste. Longwu felt distressed when he saw it. Baby was hurt, but Baby didn't dare to say it. Fortunately, these 2 abilities are not bad. The 2 brothers don't have the ability to read in reality, so they can only play in the game. Longwu just hopes that the 2 will get tired of playing sooner, so that Longwu's character in the game can steal it. After he is more familiar with it, maybe he can use the ability in reality. This is Longwu's ambition, and it is estimated that it will not be realized in 10 or 8 years. It is relatively easy to steal abilities in the game. But if you want to copy it into reality, it's really not something that anyone can do. After dinner, The third young master took Miss Nine away. The fruit they took away would probably keep the little girl quiet for a while. The third young master had received a report from Long Wu and knew that the three siblings had taken advantage of Xiao Ming. Although it is just a bargain in the game, it is also valuable. How can the Li family not give back? The third young master thought about it for a while, and before leaving, he gave Xiao Ming a martial arts secret book, Dragon Elephant Prajna. Dragon Elephant Prajna, from the world of the Return of the Condor Heroes. The supreme Dharma protector of Tantric Buddhism. It is divided into 13 levels, and its external palm power is strong and fierce. Each level of Dragon Elephant Prajna has the power of a dragon and an elephant. After practicing to the 10th level, it has the great power of 10 dragons and 10 elephants. Each move weighs 1,000 pounds and is extremely powerful. Of course, the power of this dragon elephant is just an exaggeration. The king of the Golden Wheel in the original work, a martial arts genius, only practiced to the 10th level. At that time, he was full of confidence and thought he was invincible. In Chinese society, this skill is absolutely well known. Even in some online novels, the protagonist travels to the world of martial arts and starts with Dragon Elephant Prajna. Because the starting point of this skill is very low, the original book says, even if you are a foolish person, as long as you are taught, you can practice it in 1 or 2 years. It is unlikely to practice to the 13th level by yourself. But you can rely on the system and other things to upgrade and become a top master. Its popularity is second only to Baiming Divine Art, Yujin Jing, Xiao Wuxiang Divine Art, Bawang Liu He Wajazun Gong, Zhuyang Divine Art, Zhuyan Manual. LLL Omega, there are too many, so I won't list them one by one.